What's up, Modern Contractors? Teddy here. In this episode, we sit down with Matt Cope. Matt is from the New Flat Rate. Matt has come up with a business where he helps home service contractors come up with flat rate pricing and sales strategies that are completely different from high pressure sales. He's going to help you come up with different good, better, best options, but he talks about why he offers 5 options as opposed to just 3. And we dive into it in this episode, and it's a ton of value around pricing, profit margins, sales strategies. You're definitely going to want to listen to this episode. It's packed with tons of value. Let's get into it.
You're listening to Modern Contractor TV, the show for home service pros who want to build real business value, scale profits, and create a company that doesn't rely on them day to day. Hosted by entrepreneur, author, and advisor Teddy Slack, a builder of multiple 7-figure service businesses. Each episode brings you real-world strategies to help you grow, systemize, and prepare for a profitable exit. Let's get into it.
Hey, Matt, welcome to Modern Contractor TV.
Hey, Teddy, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get you on the episode here today because this is a topic that I love to talk about, and you guys have made a profession out of it. So I can't wait to get into what you guys do and how it works. And tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah, and so my name is Matt Cope, and I'm original by trade. I was a service technician, started on the apprenticeship level in really all things building science, but started out in the world of electrical, plumbing, and HVAC in the home service space. And over the years, kind of grew to a position in the company where I was a big quote unquote salesperson, and grew under the premise that the industry always said that if you're going to be successful and you're going to make money, then you had to learn to sell. And at the time, that kind of meant that we had to break arms, and the word no meant nothing. And so ultimately evolved into finding a new way to where service technicians and repair professionals could allow customers to simply buy instead of having to be sold, but they could buy more through automated presentation systems. And then that's what brings us together today, is kind of how we took that and built a company called the New Flat Rate, where we've built hundreds of thousands of in-home presentations so that service techs can win without having to break arms and fight with customers anymore.
No, that's awesome. And what industries or specific industries that you work with that you focus on?
Yeah, so we've gotten, first of all, really big into just the psychology, and we can talk more about that later, but the psychology buying habits of homeowners. And so we put on a lot of classes and things that any home service professionals could benefit from, so that we have resources that could benefit all of them. Our technology today is vast majority in the realm of heating and air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical. And then we have some building science stuff, so like insulation, waterproofing, and then and indoor air quality, and then also chimneys and fireplaces. So chimney sweeps, fireplace rebuilds, inserts, that kind of stuff.
Okay. That's awesome. So you're basically helping the companies build out a sales process, is from what I'm hearing, it sounds like. And also I'm assuming you're helping them with pricing as well. Is that how it works?
Yeah, a little bit of all of that. So the process that we developed, we call it our proven process, is a 6-step communication process for the in-home representative, whether that's a repair technician or a salesperson, doesn't really matter. But it's a process that just gears up the customer to get them ready to buy, gets rid of resistance, gets rid of objections before they become objections. And then we find that, once you take all that out, then you just need a really easy way for them to say yes. And so we do set up these contractors pricing modules where we pre-build out all their presentations for their team with their flat rate pricing, everything already built in, but in more of an option-based format. And so we found that we give every customer at least 5 options, And so there's kind of something for every budget.
Wow. No, I like that. I mean, 5 options I usually hear good, better, best. You hear 3 options. So what's the reason behind 5? Is that because I hear sometimes people say, well, if you give them too many options, you don't want to confuse them, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
In the world of sales, you're not wrong. So in the world of sales, if you're trying to upsell somebody, you have to be a really good salesperson to get somebody to move up 2 or 3 options. But when we started really diving into the psychology and buying habits of people, we did so by actually focusing on some role models in the retail space, which were Walmart and Home Depot. And when you go into Walmart and Home Depot, Teddy, do they only give you 3 choices?
No, yeah, definitely
They
not.
give you a ton, but you
Yeah.
have, you always end up buying more. Matter of fact, over 70% of consumers buy over 40% more than they walk into those stores for every single time. And so as we started diving in, we started testing. And we believe that our greatest ability is the ability to test. So we tested, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We did run into that anytime we went up to like 6 and 7 options in a single area. So like if we're working on, changing somebody's shower out, if we went up into 6 and 7 options, the top options became unbelievably premium.
Yeah.
And so we ended up getting a lot of pushback on that side. And so, but we learned that when we only had 3 options, we would get a lot of people that said, I guess I don't have a choice. And so as we kept diving in, we learned that there's this subconscious trigger that people have, that when they see a set of options to solve a problem, their subconscious mind immediately eliminates 2 options. Well, if we only have 3 options, good, better, best, and our mind eliminates 2 of them, how many do we have left?
Yep.
People say 1, but the answer is none, because 1 is not
It's
options.
not an
It's
option.
take it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
take it or leave it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we went to 5. The good, better, best theory works, but when we go to 5, if their subconscious pulls 2 off, they still have that good, better, best to choose from. So we saw faster decision making from customers with 5 options versus 3, and more confidence from the buyer with less buyer's remorse afterwards.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I like
Mhm.
that. That's great content, man. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, because I'm actually in the middle of building out my options right now. So I'm launching a residential roofing business, and this is
Awesome.
something I'm actually working on right now. And this is a topic that I want to discuss with you today because I don't know if do you have any roofing clients right now currently?
Not a lot, but some. I do work with some companies that kind of do everything under the
Yeah.
building,
They
like
do exteriors, yeah, roofing, siding,
everything.
windows, gutters, yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're straight retail roofing, and one of the things that I'd like to bring to the industry, which I think it'll take a little time for me to like figure this out, but I did it in the environmental space where I moved to flat rate pricing back in 2019. And the way I did that is I basically took a subset of all my projects over like I don't know, it was like maybe 120 days or 4 or 5 month period, and I looked at every single job because we would have a starting price plus all these line items in there, which the starting price, for example, would be $1,200 plus, depending on what we found once we got to your house and we start the project, it would get added, and it would be added for permits, added for if it was under concrete, and all these line items, which was industry standard. And the job might start at 1,200, but then the invoice could be $2,500. And homeowners didn't like this, obviously. Who wants to get quoted at 1,200 and then get an invoice at 25? So I'm like, how do I fix this? And I basically I took all the additional items that we charge for over a span of time, and then I came up with an average, and I just worked it into that flat rate. And I was like, it's $1,450 flat rate, and there's no additional. And the homeowners absolutely loved it. My closing rate went through the roof. So I want to do the same thing here in roofing because there's a lot of unknowns as well. You have the decking, that can have to be repaired, so there's things of that nature. If there's additional layers, stuff like that. So I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate that in the roofing space because it really helped my closing percentage and it made us super profitable once I implemented it.
Yeah, we can help you for sure, and I can give you some pointers here if you want. But hey, I got a really great story that goes with what you just said. Do you mind if I share it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
So back in 1986, my father moved from northern Minnesota down to North Georgia, where my family kind of resides now, and bought a house. And it was a nice house. It wasn't huge, but it was a nice house. But in the area, pretty much all the houses have septic tanks
Yep.
because we don't really have a lot of sewer. It's a little rural. And so I remember that he had a problem with the septic tank there where the field lines weren't working completely right. So like every now and then it'd back up or whatever. And there was a contractor that lived across the street, more of a construction guy. He was talking to him and he said, "Hey, I have this problem. Who should I call or what do I do?" And the contractor across the street said, "Oh, well, we can fix it for you." And the guy had bulldozers and all kinds of stuff. And he said, "We can fix it for you. We do it all the time." My dad's like, "Well, how much is it?" And he said, "Well, it's we'll just come over with the boulder, the backhoe, and we'll start digging it up, and we'll repair and replace the field lines as needed." He says it's $35 an hour, and we'll just work on it till we're done. And my dad didn't have him do the job. Now, thinking today, Teddy, think of $35 an hour,
Yep.
and you're like, "Gosh, what a deal, right?"
Yep.
But my dad said I never had him do the job because I was terrified I wouldn't be able to afford it. But he said if he would have just told me, $1,500 or even $2,500, he's like, I would have done it in a heartbeat. Now, to do some simple math here, $1,500 divided by $35 an hour is 42 hours.
Yep.
Do you think likely that contractor could have fixed those field lines in 42 hours?
Yep.
Of course, right? But the thing is, and the reason why flat rate pricing revolutionized the contracting industry originally is because even something as cheap as $35 an hour times infinity, nobody can afford it.
Yes.
And so, but here at the new flat rate, we took it a step further to give you another pointer on your roofing thing. We believe in 2005, flat rate pricing as we knew it died. Because prior to that, back in 1988, there was this company called Google that was founded. And in 2005, all of a sudden, it really started gaining traction.
Yep.
And before that time, if a consumer had a question about their roof or anything, they would ask you. They're like, ask the contractor because you were the professional. But now, after 2005, all of a sudden we ended up with this endless book of knowledge at our fingertips, and people started asking Google instead of the contractors, and they started getting information from multiple sources that weren't even always true. And so one reason why the new flat rate exists is our goal isn't to make things so that people can't Google them. Is we just questioned that question of what made a customer want to Google in the first place. And we realized it was because they couldn't keep up with the way that we were communicating to them. And so we had to get rid of the mental triggers that says, hey, go double check that, go look that up. And we had to make it simpler. So as you're building out your roofs, these options for your roofing, one thing I've learned that's incredibly helpful is exactly what you already said, but a little bit further. You said that you took all of these snapshots of your job and then took the average, right?
Yep.
But think about it this way too. Customers sometimes tell you that you're expensive, but we don't actually believe that they care about price. They always care about value, right?
Yep.
And what don't they want? They don't want to have to do it again.
Yep.
And so when you're building options, I wanted to show them the top option. And the top option, Teddy, this is my best. And so like if I was going to build options for roofing, like what you talked about, my top option would not only include all new shingles and all new waterproofing, but it would include all new decking maybe. And you know what? It might be 3 times the price because of that.
Yep.
But what is it saying? It's saying that, hey, if I do my best, we know you're not going to have another problem. Everything's going to be right, regardless of how the builder built the house and whether they lined things up right. We're going to line it up. We're going to support it. There's not going to be any weak spots. It's there. And you know what? It might be $100,000, but we have other options. And when they look at the other options, we've got the one with the decking and everything. We got the one without the decking. So even if they say, hey, you know what, Teddy, let's go ahead and let's start with just the shingles. Let's just try that. Okay. Well, then you rip all the shingles off the house and you see the decking is bad. It's not a surprise now to have to go back and say, hey, we're going to have to do that too. And that's the way the new flat rate is built, is we build it on the top option is the most permanent to take care of and reset everything in the area. And as they move down, they're taking the risk. They're exchanging money for added risk that they might have to do more later.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, and it's funny that you say that, because so once I did the flat rate for the tank removal service, I decided I'm going to come up with a flat rate for the soil remediation project, which was the most expensive, the most profitable project, where it could range anywhere from 8,000 to hundreds of thousands, depending on how much contamination was in the ground. And same deal, you couldn't tell the homeowner how much it was going to cost because there's all these unknowns, right? So I came up with a system where I would go out there, I would drill the soil first, I would drill down, I would delineate the soil, figure out how extensive it is. I came up with a price to do that very, very affordable. It was like $600. And I would tell the homeowner, I would say, hey, listen, let me come out there for $600. I'll do the delineation. I'll give you a flat rate. And it's an option. You don't have to take it. If I give you a flat rate of 45,000, you say, oh my gosh, it's too expensive. Well, you still have the option to go open-ended. I called it. I said, you can go open-ended where we don't know how much it's going to cost. And maybe you'll save yourself some money, or maybe it'll be more than 45,000. You have to take the risk. I mean, do you want us to take the risk, or do you want to take the risk? And whenever I put it to them that way, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, I'd rather just pay the 45 grand. I don't want to take the risk. That's too much risk. And again, same thing, that became super profitable for us. And, some jobs were tight, or some jobs we even lost a little bit of money on it. But overall, if you looked at the numbers on an overall basis, we crushed it. I mean, when I sold the business, we were at a 43% basically EBITDA, and it was absolutely insane for home services to be that high.
So yeah. And on that note, with your cleanup options and your fuel tanks and all the stuff that you were doing, it's really the percentages always win. But I really like how you worded that. Hey, sure, we could do it your way, but then you're taking the risk.
Yep.
Or you let us do it our way and we take the risk. I think that's such a key phrase that the listeners here can really grasp, is why did a homeowner in a home service space, why did they call you in the first place? I mean, let's get real, Teddy. We're in the world of, we have YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's an expert.
Yeah.
But you have YouTube and you have Amazon, and you have more resources available as a consumer today than you've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And yet people still called us. Well, I think what you said there is exactly why. They call you because they want you to be the one taking the brunt of the risk, and they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. When you put it to a customer that way, and then you could charge for that, right? So that's why I was able to charge a premium too, because it's like, yeah, it's almost insurance. Obviously, you can't say it's insurance because you're not an insurance, broker. It's illegal, but you're basically giving them a guarantee, right? And you can charge a premium for that guarantee. And my whole process is like, listen, this is an option. You don't have to take this, but yeah, there's a premium built into it. And obviously, it's similar to insurance. It's like you pay for it, you may need it, you may not, and you want to have it, obviously, if you get in an accident, right? And I mean, it was a way to drive up profits. I mean, so are you seeing that same thing in like the HVAC, plumbing, electrical space, where we're able to, when they move to this flat rate pricing, it's driving up their profit margins? Are you seeing that?
Yes. Now there's a little bit of difference between what we do and traditional flat rate, because traditional flat rate, as the industry understands it, it sounds like you did a little bit more of closer to what we do. Traditional flat rate, as the industry understands it, is they take a specific part or task. And, for example, like this bottle of water, and they say, okay, well, let's take this bottle of water and then let's sell it with all the company's overhead and everything in it. So this bottle of water that, is $3, they're going to say, hey, we're going to come out here and we're going to install a bottle of water for you for $300. That's traditional flat rate. It's just the inflated price to cover overhead. Well, but the negative is, because of technology today, people can look at a bottle of water and they're like, well, I don't think that's worth $300. Yeah. And if they look it up online, then it makes you look like a crook. So what we do differently is we actually have removed all the part names from our system. Not to hide them, don't get me wrong, not to hide them. We did not change part names. But we realized that the customer, if 100 customers calls your company today and ask for help, less than 1% of them will generally ask for a specific part. So they're not calling you for the part, they're calling you for the help. You're the solution to the problem.
Yep.
And so the way that the new flat rate's built is we built a presentation system that focuses on the system and the area that needs to be quote unquote restored. And so, at which case, we have restoration options, and our options rebuild and restore the areas of concern, the systems of concern. Because of that, it takes away the customer's desire to ever look it up online. And so, you're the solution from the beginning to the end. Now, another thing that's different with us is we give these 5 options. People are like, well, what are the 5 options? If we're selling a faucet, if we're a plumber and we're selling a customer a faucet, is it just 5 different faucets? No, that's the traditional way of thinking when you sell parts. But what we do is we look at, if we're selling the faucet, what's it connected to? Everything under the sink could possibly be a leak in the future that could cause the customer concern. So we take and build packages encompassing the area that reduce the likelihood of a future failure. And so, to answer your question directly, the average plumber, for example, in the home service space and really repair person is going to average between 1.2 and 1.7 tasks, which means items sold per stop with traditional flat rate. When it comes with the new flat rate, because we've bundled things together, the average person buys 3 to 5. So generally speaking, we double and triple the profit and margins of companies instantly.
Wow.
But the cool thing is we can do it without even having to raise prices because they just buy more.
Yeah, you're just adding more products or more services. Absolutely.
Even if the prices go down.
Yeah,
so it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool way to think about it, and it's got my gears spinning for sure for this new business. And yeah, I mean, so if you had to give, I guess, what are you seeing? What are the biggest roadblocks you're seeing when these contractors are coming to you to migrate over to this new system and this new way of thinking?
The biggest roadblock is they're all psychological from the contractor side. Not from the customers. Like we'll get 2% of the customer base will push back, but I consider 2% of the world that hates my guts before I even knock on their door anyway, right? Mm-hmm. And so a very small pushback from the consumers. About 10% or less of customers are what we call ultra analytical. If you're familiar with the book Law of Connections by Michael Lozier, he talks about them as a digital mind, right? And so they want more data than we provide, but that's okay because the professional is there and they can ask the question. And so outside of that, the most difficult hurdle that you're talking about is really getting people over the idea that it's okay to replace a part that hasn't already failed. And so we're very proactive focused. And a lot of the home service trades, not all of them, a lot of the home service trades, they're really bad about thinking about pieces of the home as good if they're working and bad if they're not. But like if we look at manufacturing, they build products on a failure curve. And it's all based on percentages of life consumed, right? Whereas when it comes to the things in the home, they begin ripping themselves apart the moment that the house is built. And so, just like with your roof, you can change the shingles because they all need to be changed, but yet the decking underneath it, does it have to be changed? Well, no. But is it new? No. Mm-hmm. So does it hurt anything to change it? No. It's just an option, right? And so once you understand that it's optional, you'd be surprised that over 80% of customers choose to proactively replace things that are still working because they don't want to run a risk in the future.
Yeah. I never thought of that. I mean, honestly, this is great. I mean, I never thought of even offering, replacing the entire decking. And I mean, think about it. If the house is 30 years old, that means the decking is 30 years old, so maybe it's not
Right.
rotten, but yeah, it's not going to hurt it to replace it. And that's going to give
No.
you more longevity for sure.
Longevity and structure. And remember, you probably replace the decking today differently than they did back then.
Yeah.
You probably glue it down. They probably didn't. But also, what options do you have in decking? Like you have the kind that has the radiant barrier already hooked on it, that foil backing.
Yep.
They're not getting that if they don't get it. And do they have to have it? No. But I've been in some attics with it, and it's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's it's got my mind going for sure. So yeah, with the contractors that you're currently working with, who would you say is your, I guess, the biggest industry that you work with the most? Would it be HVAC, plumbing?
Yeah. Currently, the largest industry we're in is HVAC, but only because we started with that one. So that was our first, lateral that we went into, and so our second biggest is plumbing because that was our second, and then our third biggest is electrical. And growing. We're going into other laterals though. We're going into things like maid services and cleaning services. We're going
Okay.
into pest control and some different things. It just in security systems and all kinds of them. We have about 17 laterals that we're looking at branching into, but these were just our largest right off the bat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then you mentioned before we start recording, and I'd like to get into this topic a little bit, switch gears, the sales process, and how do you help contractors get over that whole pushy sales techniques that a lot of guys teach, this high pressure sales tactics. So why don't you talk a little bit about this topic? Because this is a topic I love to talk about.
The funny thing about that topic is I got really good at sales. Like at one point, like I don't want to be good at it anymore because I know what it does. But like I got really good at it because I was desperate. And Teddy, I was desperate to provide for my family. I had children I was struggling to feed. And so the industry said, well, then the word no just means nothing and you just push anyway.
Yep.
And I've pushed past 15 no's and I felt terrible because of it. But all that being said, I did learn something along the way. And so the answer to your question, I believe, we got to change our belief structure, and it starts on two fronts. Front number one is the fact that people called us for a reason. And so we got to realize that they called us for a reason. And so my question for you is, Teddy, how many consumers do you think called us thinking, hey, I'm going to call Teddy's roofing company today just to waste Teddy's time? Do you think anybody did that?
No.
No. Why? Because if they waste your time, whose time do they waste?
Yep.
Their own. And our most precious commodity is our time. And so our belief structure, we have to start adjusting it by realizing that we believe that 100% of customers that took time out of their day to meet with us and to take care of this issue, they called us and booked the time with the intention to buy. And so once we understand that there's an intention to buy, well, then the only thing that's in their way is us. And so when we don't get the sale, it's usually because of something that we said or did. And so once we start looking at through the kind of that lens, then we can go in and say, okay, well, how can I get the customer to buy without having to break arms and to sell? Because selling is about, pushing something that maybe the customer hasn't already decided that they wanted. But all that comes down to really this. And it comes down to, we believe that they called us with the intention to buy. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. Bear with me here. But the other side of it is that it takes a really, really, really great salesperson to get somebody to upsell 2 or 3 levels. I remember where I was trying to get. But then I was taught something by a colleague of mine. His name is Michael McAllowicks, the author of Profit First.
Yes, I've read his books. Yep.
Yeah. And so I went and spent half a day with him a while back, and we talked about this, and he said, Matt, he says, do you have a product? Do you have a product or service in your company that can benefit the customer? And I'm like, yeah. he says, then you have a responsibility to help them say yes. And so once I kind of understood that, I'm realizing, hey, I don't have to sell anybody anything, but I might have to be there to advise them. I might have to be there to help them make a decision because they don't always know, right? And so once we believe that they call us with the intention to buy, then we just need a very, very simple process that helps lay it out like in an option-based format so that they can buy. But then you have to set yourself up as the trusted advisor that's not there to break arms, but that's there to help. And so what are some ways that you could be labeled as the trusted advisor, Teddy, to where it would make a customer feel comfortable asking you about the options you just showed them?
Yeah, well, some of the things that I did in my last business is I produced a lot of content around, I basically followed Marcus Sheridan's book, They Ask You Answer back then, and I created a ton of content around all the questions that were being asked. Essentially what I did is I transcribed all the sales calls, pulled all the questions out, and then I just made content around those questions. So then my homeowners would consume it. And then before I got there, before I made the sales call over the phone, they felt like they knew me and they trusted me and they were ready to buy. And they would literally tell me, I feel like I could come work for you and sell your services. I know it so well now, So that was one of the things that I did.
Right. So you became the trusted advisor before you even walked in the door.
Yes, correct.
And for those listening, that's the long game, but a no-brainer, really. I mean, It really just makes it simple to where, hey, become the trusted advisor ahead of time. But I found that you can do the same thing in front of the customers. It just takes a little bit more effort. But when it comes to like the sale, you're not really selling the product. The customer called you to buy the product. What we're selling here, getting away from the high pressure, is your unique offerings. In other words, what do you do that makes you unique as a contractor? And some of that is just beliefs and ethics of hey, if a job goes south, something happens that wasn't supposed to happen, one of your team messes something up, are you going to make it right?
Yeah.
And if you're the kind of person that says, well, yeah, we'll make it right, well, then I learned something from Dr. Karras at Karras Negotiating. He said that the human brain, when it hears something verbalized, like if I say, oh, I've got 100% satisfaction guarantee, the human brain considers that to be a possible truth. So like a suggestion. So, okay, well, maybe Teddy stands behind his stuff. But it says if the human brain reads it, so it sees it in writing, it instantly believes it to be true. So if you're a contractor that if something goes wrong and the customer's not happy, you're going to try to make it right. Well, then put it in writing.
Yep.
And when it's in writing, the human brain perceives it to be true. And so they're more likely to say yes.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'll give you a kind of quick example. I did that in my past company as well, where we used to offer a service called a tank sweep or tank search. So homeowners that were buying a home, they would hire us to come out with a metal detector. We would sweep the property to see if there was any unknown buried underground tanks. Because once you buy the home, you become full responsibility for it. So we would go out there for $250 and we would sweep it. Now, a lot of homeowners will say, well, what if you miss a tank? What happens? And, the way I was taught and the way that everyone did it in the industry at the time was they had this fine, print in their contracts that said, well, if we miss the tank, it's not our responsibility, because they, the contractors didn't want to be held responsible for it. And I'm like, well, that's not really the right way to do it. I'm like, because if I do miss a tank, I'm going to come out there and I'm going to handle it, because otherwise you're going to call my insurance company. Now we got a claim, we got a lawsuit, right? So what's that going to cost me as a business? So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to guarantee this thing. Why not? I'm basically going to do the right thing anyways. I'm not going to let the insurance company handle it or the attorneys handle it. I'll just get, also I put in writing. All the competitors thought I was absolutely insane. They're like, you can't do that. Like, you're going to go out of business. I'm like, okay, let's see. Boom. And I put it in there and everybody was hiring me because I had the only company that was offering a guarantee. And it absolutely works. And it made sense for me because I was going to make it right anyways. So yeah, why not put it in writing? I 100% agree with that.
Well, and that lawsuit that you're talking about, it could have put you out of business too.
Yes. Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it,
And that's what people don't realize. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's a huge mistake in the world of business ownership. No matter what your company is that you have, for those that are listening, is thinking that business is risk free.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's not, but it's about calculated risks, and it's
Yep.
about the averages. It's about looking at it and saying, hey, I could cover this, and what's the risk? Well, the risk, might be whatever that is, $10,000 or whatever that could cost you, but what's the opportunity?
Yep.
And like you said, when everybody hired you,
Yep.
the opportunity is huge. I've got a member that I work with that implemented a 100% satisfaction guarantee, and theirs is extreme. Theirs is like for 2 or 3 years after their installation. If a customer's not happy, they can call and have it removed, and they'll give them their money back.
Wow.
Like it's pretty big, but it's in writing. And I asked him, and he's had this now he's been with me for about 12 years. And I asked him the other day, I was up there, and I was like, how many of those have you ever had to write the check back to? And he said that they were in the process of doing the third. In like 12 years,
Yep.
3 customers in 12 years that said, well, you can't make me happy, give me my money back.
Yep.
And the irony of it is it wasn't even their fault. It wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
It was just customers that were just
Yeah.
psychotic.
Yeah, and you're going to get that. I mean, listen, you're going to get that in every industry. You're going to get customers that it's that small percentage of customers, no matter what you do, you're never going to make them happy. But I'm sure if you ran the math on, let's just hit that example. If you ran the math on how many more jobs he closed because of that guarantee, and his closing percentage probably went up, and how much more money he made, and then you subtract the 3 that he had a refund, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean,
It's no brainer.
yeah.
And during this time, his contracting company went from about $1.5 million in annual revenue to over 8 million and climbing. And so it's just going up and up and up. They'll hit 10 million next year. Like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer. So does that help?
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, that absolutely helps. And this is the type of stuff that you help with your clients to kind of come up with these ideas. I mean, and you work with them on implementing this stuff.
So funny thing is people look at our company, and when we started, we wanted to honestly just sell flat rate price books. Like you said, we wanted it to just be mailbox money. Hey, give me a few $100, I'll send you a book, that type of thing. But because our process and our focus is so different than the industry, and we give these options and nobody else does, we're still the only company that does what we do. So we're the only company that is completed presentations. And so not only do we build your pricing out for you, but we've assembled the presentations and the proposals and everything. It's already done for you. Whereas everybody else, you get that line item price book and you got to build your own stuff. So we literally, like in my price book, in the last 2 years, we've done about 15,000 man hours worth of updates in it. Like it's really, really crazy. And so we're saving contractors so much time, and making them money. So through all of that, when it comes to this process, we wanted to just sell price books, but because we're kind of unique, everybody started asking us to train their people. So today, over 50% of our company is process coaching in their business, to train their team to think different, to step back and just to let the customer buy. And so we've got services from live classes they can attend to, weekly group calls that their technicians can call in on and listen to what the other companies are dealing with and getting advice from our coaches, to even we have a tech support line where our members technicians can actually call from the job, and we'll help them pick a menu that will be profitable for the job, and so that they don't have to call their service managers and stuff. So yeah, we do a lot of that.
That's awesome.
A lot of strategy.
Yeah, that's really cool. What are your thoughts around pricing tools like and giving pricing ahead of time, like online, like in the roofing space they have an app called Roofle where you could the customer come in and put their address in and they could get an instant estimate. I mean, what are your thoughts on instant estimates and doing pricing before you get into the home?
You know, that that's an interesting question because I used to be very against it. Just narrow-minded, I guess. We don't always think through the opportunity. But we have to start thinking and realizing that there's two types of customers. There's ones that are going to use it and ones that aren't.
Yep.
But even the ones that use it, it goes back to that $35 an hour story I told you, that some people are out there calling. They don't want to say yes to your $600 assessment because they don't want to end up with a $150,000
Yep.
bill if they have no way to say yes. And what they're a lot of times they're doing is even protecting their time. So I'm okay to have those, especially for a customer, let's call it qualification process. And I've seen some that are done very well that don't specifically price it to the T. The ones I like the best ask questions that a lot of customers can't answer anyway. And so it just more cues the customer up for an on-site assessment
Yes.
so that we can answer those. And that's really where I want to get to. But then if nothing else, it needs to be able to give them maybe a little bit of a range, but
Yep.
more than anything, a range of resources. I'm a big follower of Tony Robbins, and he always says there's no such thing as a lack of resources, just resourcefulness. Well, as a contractor, if we want to get out of the world of high pressure sales, we have to be in the world of making sure that we have all the resources for the customer so that they don't have to go anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that. And that's basically the way I'm looking at it is I'm giving a range, good, better, best options. And it's a range. And it's like, hey, this is to give you an idea of what you could expect that the prices are going to fall within, because obviously at that point, I'm going to weed out. If anybody goes through that and they're like, oh, this guy's too expensive, all these options are out of my price point, I got a cheaper price. Well, that's fine. I'm not going to, I'd rather have that than waste 2-3 hours in your home trying to convince you that I'm the best guy for the job. I mean, again, going back to the whole high pressure sales, it's just not the way I've done it. And I'm going to try to bring that to the roofing space. We'll see if it works. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I have to kind of play it out. But that's kind of my initial thought process behind it, is give the range, kind of weed out the ones that I don't want to work with. If they're okay with the range, then yeah, let's set an appointment. I'll come out to your house, because what the closing percentage will be super high at that point. If you already know what the pricing range is, how can you say no at that point? You know what I mean? Unless you just don't like me personally, or don't like my sales guy personally, then I can understand. But that was my thought process.
Well, and so I would utilize it. I would just try to utilize it to, before you even show them that range, to make sure you connect them to all of the resources.
Okay.
The resources of, not only because do people really buy price? If we're talking about a roof job that let's just get real, Teddy, what's the range that you play in? 20 to 50,
Yeah.
60,000.
Yeah, pretty
So
much. Yeah.
how many customers are walking around with 20 grand in their pocket?
Yeah.
Not very many, but yet they buy $20,000+ stuff all the time, but they buy it on payments.
Yep.
So, hey, what are our payments? And then, I would always want to have some resources there on what's the likelihood that you can get some coverage from the insurance company.
Yes. Yep.
I've got a statement that I use with customers that works really well. Anytime we go into a warranty situation, I tell them, I say, listen, Teddy, here's the deal. Man, I work for you. I'm on your side. I'm a small town contractor. I live here in town. My kids go to school with your kids. I'm here local, so I care about you. So I work for you. And my goal today is to work with your insurance companies and try to get as much coverage as I possibly can to help you out with this, but without committing insurance fraud. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
And it's like when I say that, without committing insurance fraud, it's like it just breaks the ice, and they just melt down and they're like, hey, I appreciate that. I'm like, is it okay with you if I don't go to jail for you today? And they're like, yeah, that's okay. But ironically, I've had some I've had some people say, well, I don't care if you got to commit fraud or not. I'm not paying nothing.
Yeah.
Well, then I really don't want to put my business name on their house.
Yeah.
It's really that simple, and I'll gracefully bow out before I go very deep there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's I 100% agree, and I love that. Yeah, we are offering financing. We're showing them the financing options ahead of time, all that stuff. Because 100%. I mean, you got to make it easy for them. Yeah, give them all the resources. I love that, and and guiding them. That's one of my principles as well. Like I want to guide them and to make the right decision. Because if you have a house that's 600 grand, I'm not going to sell you a class 4 shingle that's and it's going to cost you. You're not going to. I'm not going to have you over improve your home. So I'm going to help guide them depending on what the value is of their home. That's one of the thoughts I have too, which I think is helpful for the homeowner because it's a lot of options and they don't know the right choice sometimes. So you got to guide them in the right direction. That's kind of how I look at it.
Well, and I 100% believe in that of they don't know. That's why they called you.
Yep.
So it's okay to pick. There's a lot of contractors that want to take every single product and show every single product and be like, oh, you tell me what you want to do
Yep.
and I'll price it. I'm like, all you're doing is on a bidding war of labor.
Yep.
Like the thing is it's not about the product. It's about you taking the frustration off of that customer and helping them and just handling the project for them. And so, but where I think a lot of contractors miss it, Teddy, with what you just said, is we instinctively push people towards the cheapest options.
Yep.
And that's a big no-no because the customer doesn't want the cheap because the cheap comes with high risk. But I work with these service techs all the time. And a lot of times they look at my options and they'll be like, well, in my house, I would do the cheapest one. Yeah. I'm like, of course you would. Because when you go home, I ask them the question. I said, do you drive a service truck home? They're like, yep. So you have all the parts and tools if it breaks again, right? I'm like, yep. And I'm like, if you got to go fix something at your own home, your kids are there helping you, right? They're like, yeah. I said, so it's not taken away from your family time. It's not destroying your quality of life. It just doesn't disrupt that much when you have a problem with your home's mechanical system. But when it comes to your customers, if they have a leak in the roof or an air conditioner go down or a busted water line or an electrical issue, it's just as inconvenient to them is their car breaking down on the side of the road. It literally disrupts their entire day, maybe their entire week or entire month, according to how severe it is. And they just want somebody to say, hey, don't worry. I'm going to do the best job so you don't have to worry about it again, which is why when we show those options to just reset everything, it's not about what's going on today.
Yep.
It's about what's going to come in the future.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. One last question to kind of wrap things up here. I mean, we talked a lot about pricing and everything like that. What do you see in home services is a good net profit that they should be shooting for as far as, when it comes to, and I guess obviously it ranges, right? Plumbing, HVAC, it's all going to be different. But, if we want to just pick HVAC, we could start with that and just see like, what would you say in HVAC is a good, net profit they should be shooting for?
Well, net profit would be at the end of the quarter or the end of the year after we've paid all of our expenses, what's left. You're going to get me in trouble with this one. I'll be straight. I try to shoot for a company that's in balance and I try to price for 25%.
Yep.
And the reason I price for 25%, Teddy, is something's going to go wrong.
100%.
Something's going to go wrong. You're going to have either a job that fails somewhere along the way, or you're just going to have a couple of days, weeks, or months where it just never stops raining. Like I'm in Georgia, and this year we had more rain than we've ever had. And so that disrupted tons of construction projects, tons of contractors' jobs on a massive scale. And so I shoot for 25%. And if we land anywhere between 15 and 20%, we're thrilled.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I mean, there's so many things that come up. Yeah, it could be non-work. It could be weather related. It could be equipment related, job related. Something goes wrong on a job, like we were talking about before, where you have to step in and do the right thing for the customer, and that's coming right out of your profits. So
that's right.
You have to be profitable. Otherwise, what's the point of being in business? I mean, I have some of my clients that come to me. They're barely bringing in 5, 6, 7%. And I'm like,
Mhm.
Like I wouldn't get out of bed for that. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like there's too many things that could go wrong, and then one mistake, and then boom, you're in the red. So no, 100% agree. I think that's a great target, 25%. I agree with that. And yeah, Matt, this has been great, man. Is there any last things you'd like to maybe add, to the audience, and then also tell them where they can contact you as well?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so I'll end with this, and this isn't even a self-promotion, but I do want you, if you're in the heating, air, electric, plumbing, and chimney and building science space, we'd love to talk to you. First of all, you can always reach out to us by just going to thenewflatrate.com and click Get Demo. You can pick the time that works for you, and we'll show you what we can do for you. But outside of that, I would like to leave you with this, and it's the fact that we've done a lot of research in buying habits, and we're talking about a space that's hundreds of really billions of dollars here. So this space has done so much research on the buying habits of consumers, and so we started really looking into what's the number one reason why a homeowner will say no to one contractor and go and pick a different one. And the funny thing is in the top 10 reasons, price hardly ever even makes the customer's list. But yet, if I put 100 contractors in a room and says, what's the number one reason
Yep.
why a customer didn't choose you? They'll all say price within their top 3. And the number one reason is actually because the customer did not feel listened to, heard, or important.
Yep.
And so what are you doing? What's your process to make sure that the customer's feeling heard? But then understanding that the reason why we think it's price is because price is the number one reason why a customer will tell you they didn't go with you, because they didn't want to hurt your feelings. Teddy, it's not a fun conversation to tell somebody that's standing at your front door, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Like that's not comfortable. So they say,
Yeah.
Teddy, you're just too much money. But with the new flat rate, we specialize in that process of helping your team communicate on a level that anybody can, no matter what language you speak or whatever. We can help you follow a very simple process with very few words that allows the customer to know that they're important and that you're going to take care of them. And that's what we do. So check out thenewflatrate.com, click Get Demo, or give us a call, and we'll give you a shout.
No, I love
Appreciate you.
that. I love that, Matt. That's awesome. And I appreciate you coming on. And I look forward to staying in contact with you.
All right. Thanks, Teddy.
Thank you.